Why don't you sit here? Bill can sit here.
The first question I kind of was interested in asking is what you think each has contributed to the computer and technology industry, starting with you, Steve, for Bill, and vice versa.
I think, but the biggest thing was Bill was really focused on software before almost anybody else had a clue that it was really the software.
Bill, how about the contribution of Steve and Apple?
Well, first I want to clarify, I'm not fake Steve Jobs.
I actually looked at an Apple ad from 1978. It was a print ad that shows you how ancient it was, and it said thousands of people have discovered the Apple computer. Thousands of people.
We had some very strange ads back then. We had one where it was in a kitchen, and there was a woman that looked like the wife, and she was typing in recipes on the computer with the husband looking on approvingly in the back. Yeah. Stuff like that.
Most people, some people here, but I don't think most people know that there was actually some Microsoft software in that Apple II computer. Do you want to talk about what happened there, or how that occurred?
The original Apple II BASIC, the integer BASIC, we had nothing to do with. But then there was a floating point one where, and I mostly worked with WAS on that. Let me
tell this story. The WAS, and so we're getting a lot of input that people want this BASIC to be floating point, and like we're begging WAS, please make this floating point.
Who's we? How many people are in Apple?
Well, me. Yeah. We're begging WAS to make this floating point, and he just never does it, and he wrote it by hand on paper.
And how much was I think you were telling us earlier?
That was $31,000.
That Apple paid you for
the floating point BASIC. And I flew out to Apple. I spent 2 days there getting the cassette. The cassette tapes were the main ways that people stored things at the time.
Right.
And that was fun. And so we were working together. The schedules were uncertain. The quality was uncertain. The price. When Steve first came up, it was going to be a lot cheaper computer than it ended up being, but that was fine. So we made this bet that the paradigm shift would be graphics interface, and in particular that the Macintosh would make that happen with 128K of memory, 22K of which was for the screen buffer, 14K was for the operating system. So it was
14K. Yeah, 14K.
Yeah, and we were actually negotiating a deal to invest and make some commitments and things with Gil Amelio. Next thing I knew, Steve called me up and said, "Don't worry about that negotiation with Gil Amelio. You can just talk to me now." And I said, "Wow."
How do you look at yourselves in this landscape today?
Because you are competitors in certain ways, which is the American way, right?
We watch the commercials.
And you get annoyed at each other from time to time.
You know what? I have to confess, I like PC Guy better.
Yeah, he's great.
I like him.
The art of those commercials is not to be mean, but it's actually for the guys to like each other.
Thanks.
PC Guy is great.
I like PC.
Got a big heart.
And in a few cases like the Zune, that if you go over to that group, they think of Apple as a competitor. They love the fact that Apple's created a gigantic market, and they're going to try and come in and contribute something to that.
And we love them because they're all customers.
The same processor, essentially, that the Mac had. This is one of those great ironies. They were switching away from that processor while the Xbox 360 was adopting it, but for good reasons, actually, in both cases. We try and do things that way. So that was the development system for the early people getting their software ready for the introduction of Xbox 360.
And we never ran an ad on that.
I see. Admirable restraint. That's wonderful.
There were hundreds of them.
Steve is so known for his restraint.
I assume you carry tablet PC. I don't know what brand it is. Maybe you change them up. I don't know. You obviously carry a MacBook Pro, I would guess, or a MacBook.
Yeah, well, and an iPhone.
And an iPhone.
You have one?
I do.
Right here?
Yes.
Well, he has one. He took it out before. What is the iPhone and are some of these other smartphones? And I know you make you believe that the iPhone is much better than these other smartphones at the moment, but are these things, aren't they really just computers in a different form factor?
You know, we're working on some things that I can't talk about.
Again.
But, again, yeah. But there used to
Very
be,
beautiful.
There used to be a saying, isn't it, at
It's going to
Apple?
blow us away, though,
Blows
when
away.
you can't touch
Wow, it's
There
great.
used to be a saying at Apple, isn't it funny a ship that leaks from the top? So,
That's kind of like a sweater without sleeves as a vest. I don't get that.
that was what they used to say about me when I was in my 20s.
Okay.
I'm going to ask a more personal question. We have just a minute before we were going to open up for questions. What's the greatest, I'm not going to call this the Barbara Walters moment and ask you what tree you'd like to be, but
She would love to be Barbara Walters, let me just tell you.
No, I would not. What's the greatest misunderstanding? Ding, right. But thank you, Steve. About your relationship. I mean, you're obviously going to go down in history as history books already said kind of thing. But what's the greatest misunderstanding between your relationship and about each other? What would you say would be this idea of catfight? This idea of which one of the many?
We've kept our marriage secret for over a decade now.
Canada. That trip to Canada. Was there?
Generally, we were both the youngest guys in the room, right? Individually or together. I'm about 6 months older than he is, but roughly the same age. And now, when we're working at our respective companies, I don't know about you, but I'm the oldest guy in the room most of the time. And that's why I love being here. And so
happy to oblige. Happy to oblige.
And you know, I think of most things in life as either a Bob Dylan or a Beatles song. But there's that one line in that one Beatles song, you and I have memories longer than the road that stretches out ahead. And that's clearly true here.
Well, you know what? I think we should end it there. Let's just end it there.
I'm going to have a little tear right here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.